The world in which we live is full of mystery and wonder. From the depths of our oceans to the highest mountain peak and beyond, to the endless reaches of space, there remains untapped knowledge that just may forever remain unknown to us. Of all the knowledge we have managed to gather during our time here, there are things that are awe-inspiring, some that are frightening, and some that will blow your mind. Come along with me as we travel around the globe, far out into the void of space, and even back in time. This is Mad World's Top 10 Countdown of amazing facts about our world. Number 10. Flat versus round Earth. Who's right and who's wrong? You may have heard stories about how people once believed the Earth to be flat, and that if a ship were to sail far enough in one direction, it was thought that it would simply fall off the planet. What you may not have known is that this is actually a myth. The shape of the Earth has always been thought to be a sphere, at least as far back as the ancient Greeks. It was reasoned that if the moon was round, then the Earth was surely round as well. However, if truth be told, these great ancient thinkers who surmised that the Earth was round were actually wrong. Okay, so they were just a little off, to be precise. The Earth is actually not perfectly round. Our home planet actually swells in the middle due to its spinning on its axis, among other factors that contribute to this as well. The Earth's equatorial radius is 3,963 miles, as compared to its polar radius, which is 3,950 miles. Now, for those of you without a calculator handy, and not enough toes to count that high, that's a difference of 13 miles, making Earth not a sphere after all. For number 9 on our countdown, we need only turn our attention to the night sky. The subject of our observation, the moon. This familiar celestial body orbiting our planet is one we have all seen many times. The moon, as I'm sure you are well aware, has a huge impact on the conditions here on the surface of the Earth. Without the moon in its orbit, life for us would be a bit shaken up, to say the least. The moon, however, does not seem to care too much about all that. This is because the moon has actually decided to take its leave. It's true, our moon is actually drifting farther and farther away from Earth every day. His bags are packed. This here is a rear-view planet. He's on to bigger and better things. Okay, you get the picture. Now, before you panic and start looting like it's the apocalypse or something, you should know the rate at which the moon is drifting is only 3.7 centimeters per year. This means that you and I will be dead and long forgotten before the moon disappears into the black void of space. Since we are on the subject of the moon, for number 8 on our countdown, let's see if we can determine just how big the moon really is. When we observe it in the night sky, it can look quite small, but we know that this is only because it is so far away. So, let's put it into perspective. If we compare the moon to, say, Australia, we will find that Australia is actually wider than our moon at 2,485 miles wide, whereas our moon is only 2,159 miles wide. Okay, we have spent enough time on the moon. Let's head back to Earth and see what turns up in the great city of love, Paris, France, for our number 7 spot in the countdown. You have surely heard of the famous Eiffel Tower. Of course, you have probably wondered just how tall the Eiffel Tower really is. Well, believe it or not, this great tower actually changes heights depending on what time of year it is. The tower is constructed of wrought iron, and during the hot summer months, the metal expands and swells, adding a small amount of height to the monument. This increase is, in turn, lost during the cold winter months. Well, these kind of facts can really grow on you. Coming in at number 6, we don't even have to move from our seats, as we're right back in France for this slippery, slimy fact. You may not have known this, and could likely go the rest of your life without knowing it if you're anything like me. Yet, here it is on the countdown. The people of France, as it turns out, have an appetite for something other than wine and cheese. Every year, they consume a mind-blowing 25,000 pounds of snails. To each their own. But with that said, let's get out of Paris, shall we? Well, on to number 5. Things are starting to get a little deep. And this time, we're headed to the Great Pacific Ocean, to a place situated between Hawaii and the Philippines. I am sure that you already know of the Great Mariana Trench, or you have at least heard of it, but let me give you the numbers. The first thing you need to know about the trench is that it is the deepest part of any body of water on Earth. The only way for a person to get to the bottom of this trench is by way of a submersible, which is something like a small submarine, specifically crafted to be able to withstand the massive pressure of the ocean's water at this mind-blowing depth. There have only been 6 people who have made it to the bottom, one of which was well-known Hollywood movie director James Cameron, who was the first person to make the trip alone. So, how deep is the Mariana Trench? A staggering 35,000 feet. That's over 300 football fields for all you sports fans. It is so deep that even light cannot reach its depths, and thus it is completely dark at the bottom at all times. If that were not enough, the trench is actually 5 times wider than it is deep. Don't worry, I won't say that's what she said. For our number 4 spot, let's get out of the Pacific Ocean and back on dry land. Really dry land, to be more precise, to the desert sands of Egypt, where we will find perhaps one of the greatest sources of mystery on Earth, the pyramids. I am sure that you have heard many tales of the pyramids, amazing facts, speculations, and fantasies. Perhaps you have even heard the rumor that, even with our modern technology and heavy machinery, it is not possible for us to recreate the pyramids exactly the way they were. Let me give you the truth of the matter. With modern technology, and at a massive expense, we could certainly recreate the pyramids, but we cannot do so exactly the way the ancient Egyptians did. Why? Well, it's not for any reason you might think. The reason we cannot recreate the pyramids exactly like the ancient Egyptians is because of the mortar that they used. That's right, the mortar. The thing about the Egyptians' mortar is that it is made of a processed gypsum, which we have been able to identify, but that we cannot, with the technology we have today, recreate it. Very mysterious indeed. Number 3 on our countdown is something of an intermission, if you will. An amazing fact, but one that does not require a lot of deep thought. For this, we travel to Scotland, where the powers that be have chosen a very unique creature to represent them as their national animal. Yes, I'm referring to the unicorn. Don't believe me? Google it. Well, it has been quite the journey thus far. We've traveled into space, deep into the ocean, and even to the dry desert of Egypt. Now, at number 2, we will once again set off into the void of space, far from home, to another galaxy known as Alpha Centauri, in search of an answer to the question, is there life on other planets? Within the system known as Alpha Centauri, there exists a planet known as Proxima b. This planet is situated within what is known as the hospitable zone, which means it's just far enough away from its sun within its orbit, that conditions on its surface are optimal and able to sustain life much like our own. So, does this mean there is life on Proxima b? The answer to that, I'm afraid, is still unknown. However, it is not out of the question for us to find out. From the moment this planet was discovered, scientists began to formulate plans on how exactly they could try and make contact with this planet. Because of its distance, an incredible 4 light years away, which, to put this into perspective, would take a shuttle 4 years to reach if it were traveling at the speed of light. Unfortunately, we do not yet have the capabilities of light speed travel, which, by the way, is 186,000 miles per second. However, breakthrough technology, which had already been in the works when the planet was discovered, offered it the potential of propelling a probe through space with the help of a laser that could reach speeds 25% of light speed. Skeptics say that even with this technology, the fastest speed they could hope to achieve would only be 5% of light speed, which is still a staggering 10,000 miles per second. At this speed, it would take 85 years for the probe to reach Proxima b. So, for now, our ultimate question will remain unanswered, but knowing that an answer is on the way is still pretty mind-blowing. This brings us to our pinnacle moment, the grand finale, at number 1 on our countdown. And since we are already out in space within the Alpha Centauri system, this is where we will also seek answers to the question, can we see back in time? I know what you are probably thinking. No, we cannot see back in time. That's ridiculous. Well, for all you naysayers out there, let me be the first to tell you that you can, in fact, see back in time. And if that's not mind-blowing enough, you actually do it every day and at all times. Allow me to explain. For this, I will use Proxima b to help me illustrate my point. If you managed to find your way to this planet 4 light years away, and you had a very powerful telescope, you could point it at Earth, and what you would be seeing would be Earth as it was 4 years ago. Why? Because if the planet is 4 light years away, then it will take 4 years for the reflected light from Earth to reach your eye and provide an image. What we see when we look at an object is simply the reflection of light from its surface, sending waves in the form of visible light to our eyes. If we shrink this down to a much smaller scale and say, you are now looking at your buddy across the room from you, you are seeing him as he was a billionth of a millisecond ago. Okay, so I totally just made that number up, but you can see my point. So, by the fraction of a second it takes for the light from an object across the room to reach your eye, this object has already begun to move forward in time. And so, you are seeing it as it was in the past. Now, that is something truly mind-blowing. And this concludes our top 10 countdown of amazing facts about our world. I'm glad you decided to tag along. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you back here next time on Mad World. It's a very, very mad.
How about when this is over, we go do a little coke?